So Plague Tale Requiem is a game that is going to take you on a roller coaster. Welcome, my friends, to my loose sort of review of A Plague Tale Requiem. I wanted to do this while it was still fresh. I literally just finished beating the game about an hour ago at the time of recording this. So you're probably going to be seeing my review before you see the ending of my playthrough. So I do a variety of gaming content here on the channel, talk about the games and play the games. And that includes reviews, also includes kind of let's play style gameplay and things like that. And this was one of the craziest games ever. If all I'll say is, if you love cinematic experiences that make you feel something, this is the game for you. If you pass up this game, you'd be crazy. If you are a fan of The Last of Us Part 1, Part 2 we're not going to talk about because it's a little bit more split down the middle. But if you love the first game, at least, you are going to love A Plague Tale. Again, you'd be crazy not to play these games. I will say that you absolutely need to play the first game, A Plague Tale Innocence, before Requiem. The reason is because it builds so much backstory. It builds so much character development in that first game. So if you don't play the first game and you just play the second game, you're going to be missing out on a lot, and it wouldn't be the same experience. So I highly recommend you guys play the first game. Do you absolutely need to? I guess you could get away without it, but I think this is one of those situations where it's like playing The Last of Us Part 2 without playing The Last of Us Part 1, right? It wouldn't make any sense, especially that scene with Joel. It's the same kind of deal. You have to play the first game. So play A Plague Tale Innocence and come over and play A Plague Tale Requiem. Now, what I do like about Requiem is that they build upon the mechanics, the gameplay mechanics. There's a lot more. There's a crossbow you eventually get. There's different ways of utilizing your crafting abilities. So there's different things you can craft in the first game, and those make a return in the second game, but there's different ways to utilize them in different ways. For example, you can utilize them in pots in different ways. There's new kind of things that you'll learn. Crafting items that you'll be able to kind of, like I said, combine different sorts of crafting items. If you combine them, like using them in succession, for example. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers for you guys, so that is worth noting. I might jump into spoilers later, but if I do, I'll let you guys know before we jump into it. So it just kind of makes you think a little bit more outside the box, and there's obviously a lot more puzzles in this game than in the first game. And the puzzles, again, it just makes you really kind of think a little bit more outside the box. There's a couple areas that are also a lot bigger than the first game. For example, there's a couple chapters back to back where there's a huge open field where you get to kind of really explore. It gives you a sense of somewhat of a little bit of like an open world sort of feeling, but it's not open world, right? It's just kind of like a bigger area to explore. I personally prefer the linear kind of style that these games do offer, kind of guiding you through a nice story. And that's the other thing that I guess we'll end on, is the story, because that's kind of the biggest thing to talk about. And like I said, I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers. And if I get into spoilers, I'll warn you guys once we get there. So again, it kind of picks up, a little bit after Innocence. And once you pick up, the story, the kind of whole plot, without spoiling anything, is they're going on an adventure to seek answers. Okay, let me just put it that way. I'll leave it at that, because again, if I get too much into it, I'm probably going to spoil it for you guys, and I don't want to do that. So the bottom line is they're seeking answers for various things. And you're going to meet new characters. You're also going to remember familiar faces along the way as well. You're going to see new environments, new places. And the environments are gorgeous. Now, obviously, you may have heard already that on console, it struggles, especially, new consoles. If you're playing at 120 hertz, you can pull off 40 FPS, which is better than 30 FPS, but it's not as good as 60. And technically, do you really need 60 for a game like this? Maybe not necessarily. But obviously, it's always preferred for a lot of people. But you can get away without it, I guess. Now, I've ended up playing it on PC. I'm not a huge PC gamer typically, but I just wanted that extra quality to bring you guys as best quality content for the Let's Plays as possible. My experience was pretty good. I'm running off of a 3080 with a Ryzen 3800X, 32 gigs of RAM. You got to keep in mind though, I was recording my face cam and my microphone on a single PC, playing the game on a single PC at mostly high settings. Some of them were like at medium, and I was doing it at 1440p. And for the most part, I had 60 frames most of the time, but I had some dips here and there. Again, you got to understand, the setup that I was using. I don't have a dual PC setup, so that's kind of the setup I was using personally. So you do got to keep that in mind. In that sense, but it worked pretty good. I mean, you guys can see my gameplay up on the channel as well. Now, all that to say, okay, so there's a lot to say, really. So performance-wise, like I said, it feels like it's a little bit demanding. Feels like they could have better optimized it across the board, consoles, PC, and everything. It could have ran a little bit smoother, but it didn't really ruin the experience for me. Personally, I think it was still a very solid experience. Now, like I said, you got new weapons, you got new craftables, you got new ways to go about things. You have this whole kind of new skill set and whatnot, where it's, depending how you're playing through the game, if you're playing more aggressive or if you're playing more stealthy, you unlock different kinds of abilities. So for example, some of these abilities might be that Amicia moves more silently, or it could be something else like, anything from like you heal a little bit faster. That's the other thing I really appreciate about this game, is that typically, unless it's like a really big kind of heavy armored enemy, you typically don't die in one shot. It usually takes 2 shots. So the first shot will leave your screen kind of all disoriented, kind of grayish and whatnot, letting you know that you're about to die if you get hit again, and if you wait enough time, that kind of passes, and you kind of recharge, if you will. There's no like UI or meter to tell you that you're recharging, but you just can kind of tell when the screen goes back to normal and the audio goes back to normal that you've recharged, and at that point you can get hit 2 times all over again. But like I said, you get hit on the second time before that gray screen kind of goes away and you're dead, or if you get hit by a bigger enemy. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyways, again, they brought in some kind of like sort of boss-esque sort of kind of elements, right? And kind of, I guess, sequences, if you will. One of them was more kind of stealthy, where you had to really kind of outthink the person, and it didn't really involve a lot of combat. And then the others, obviously involved combat in different forms, different ways. Anyways, throughout the whole story, without getting too hardcore into the spoilers, right? We're not going to go too much into that territory. If I'm leaving the story kind of at a baseline, I'll say this. Without spoiling anything, I'll say that this game truly brings you on one crazy roller coaster of emotions. It leaves you on the edge of your seat. It leaves you with, wow factors where you're just kind of like stunned by the environments. Like I said, this game is beautiful. The environments are gorgeous. The colors are nice and vibrant. I love the visuals. The audio is very crisp, by the way, as well. Just to mention that before continuing in the story element. Audio and visuals are just really, really great, in my opinion. And so anyways, so with the story, it really makes you feel something, right? Like I said, sometimes it takes your breath away. Sometimes you're just like, you're shocked that something happened. You can't believe that something, there's plot twists, there's ups and there's downs, and there's elements where you just don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that really showcases the fact that the writers really knew what they were doing. They really, really did know what they were doing when they made this game, and they executed it very well, in my opinion. Now, is everybody gonna love, the story that was told? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. It's subjective, right? I'm telling you my experience. I think it was a very well written story. Some people may agree. Some people may disagree. But I think it was really, really well done, honestly. And I think that, again, if you're a fan of games like The Last of Us Part 1 or any kind of cinematic experience that's really kind of makes you feel something, and the story just kind of like it just pulls you and it grabs you by the heart, and it just leaves you, and it's just controlling you, man, by just holding your heart. Anything like any game that can do that, I think, is a game well made and well written. So I'll leave it at that. I will say some mild to maybe stronger spoilers right here just to end off the video. So if you don't want those spoilers, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I'll say that the game, first and foremost, before we get into spoiler territory, I would rate it a solid like 9.8 out of 10. I know there's some like issues with the gameplay, kind of like I said, with the performance side of things, but even then, I feel like the story makes up for it, and the story is so good that I just can't give it anything less than that. I honestly, if it had better performance, I would probably give it a perfect 10, but because of the performance issues that, at least at launch, that's kind of nicking it down a little bit for me. So a good 9.8 out of 10. It's just such a fantastic game. I think it's one of the craziest stories I've ever experienced. One of my favorites. It's up there with The Last of Us Part 1. Let me just put it that way. It's that good. So I want to say one quick thing with the spoiler territory. So if you want to hear what I have to say, stick around. If not, again, thank you guys so much for watching this review. All right, if you're still here, we're jumping into this. So the very end really makes you feel something. Okay, so the fact that the whole journey is that you're chasing this cure for Hugo, right? That's the whole idea, is you're chasing this cure. And by the end of it, they just throw a crazy unexpected plot twist at you. And again, I'm not going to just completely spell it out, because I don't want to completely spoil it. But like I said, mild to strong spoilers here. Like I said, you were warned. But it throws such a heavy plot twist that you just don't see coming, and honestly, you're not going to be ready for it. And that element of surprise and that element of just getting kicked in the gut, like I said, it's just, I think as much as it sucks and is hard, it's really great storytelling to be able to pull that off and to be able to really make you feel something. And again, throughout the whole story, it's all, you have all these joyous moments with Hugo, and it's just really like, it puts a smile on your face. And like I said, by the time you get to the ending of the game, it just, they've taken your heart throughout the game. They put it left, right, up, down, and then they just kind of slam it and step on it and rip it to shreds. But I mean that in a complimentive way. I mean that in a way that, like, they did a really good job at writing the story and really making you feel something, especially by the end of it. And I think, like I said, if a game can do that, that's a great game in my book. So I'll leave it at that. You guys got to play both games, A Plague Tale Innocence, A Plague Tale Requiem. If you don't want to play them, I have playthroughs up on my channel if you guys want to watch my experience through it and kind of react to it with me. That's both up on my channel if you would like to watch that as well. But I do highly recommend you guys play it for yourselves because it's just fantastic. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Have you beaten both games? Have you beaten Requiem? What would you rate Requiem, and what do you think of the story ending? Okay, I will warn everybody, be careful to go into the comment section, because if there is spoilers down there, I don't want anyone to get spoiled who hasn't beaten the game. But at the same time, I want a place where people can actually talk about the spoilers if they want to. So feel free. Be wary, obviously, of other people that may see certain things. Maybe try to not say the big spoilers right off the top. Give a little bit of a spoiler warning for people who may not want to proceed reading your comment. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. If you enjoyed this one, stick around for more, and I'll see you guys soon in another one. Thanks so much, and tell them, my friends, game on. See you guys later.